You're listening to the Custom Built Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the dreaded budget. I know, but this is important, guys, so stay tuned. Something that always comes up because it's one of the driving factors of any job that we're going to be taking is the budget, right? It's always one of the first two things that come up in a conversation. Maybe top three, right? Like, what do you want? How much? And when do you want this to be done? Is like the first three questions that pop up when we're talking about a home renovation. And I cannot tell you how many times I have come into a conversation where a homeowner just doesn't know their budget, or their budget is not healthy enough to take care of the work that they're looking to do. And so it is so important for you to have an understanding of what your budget, what you're comfortable spending for whatever rework you want to do. Now, this isn't covering something that's happened, right? So this is, I wake up one day that I've been thinking about for a long time now. I want to redo my kitchen, right? So today's the day. I'm going to start taking the first steps to getting my kitchen remodeled. Well, your first step needs to not only be the designing and understanding what you want, but you need to understand where you feel comfortable spending money on that renovation. How much money are you willing, where you feel comfortable spending money for that kitchen remodel? Because I'll tell you right now, a kitchen remodel, you're not getting for less than $20,000. And that's low, okay? So there are some learning curves when it comes to understanding what it costs to remodel a space like a kitchen or a bathroom. But you can also do your homework in this and just know what you're comfortable going in at. So maybe you have some money saved up and you want to use that. Maybe you're going to finance this. Whatever it is, you just need to know and know your comfort levels in that budget, because budgeting and money is a scary topic for a lot of people. And to get really comfortable in it, you have to face it. And I know it's scary, right? Like, we all have money things that are popping up. And sometimes we put a lot of value into what it means when you're looking at your money, right? Sometimes we think that money gives us power, or money shows us what we're worth. That's not it, right? Money is energy, it flows. And to get a little woo on you, right? Money is coming in and it's coming and go. This is an exchange, okay? This is all this is. So try to be objective when it comes to looking at your budget, because your money is just the exchange for getting what you want the outcome to be. Has nothing to do with you, your worth, or what it means about you. Okay, so take you out of the equation when it comes to looking at your money, and try to be a little bit more objective when it comes to that. Now, I'm not saying everybody's thinking in this sense, but I have a feeling that at the core, if you are having some really uncomfortable feelings when it comes to looking at your budget, there is probably some beliefs or stories around money that is blind to you right now. And that's okay, because we all have those blind spots. And when it comes to money, a lot of us have the same or similar blocks and thoughts when it comes to money. So why am I talking to you about this, and why is this important to focus and think about our money and really getting into that nitty-gritty of why it freaks us out, or why we're uncomfortable about? Because this is going to be a sore subject. If you cannot get your head around your budget, will be a sore subject to go through your renovation project. And renovations are already stressful. They're emotional. We're in your home, your sacred space, and we're going to be basically creating chaos in that space that's your sacred, homing space that you feel safe in. And we're just going to be making it a disaster for a little bit while we get it to that finished product. So again, it's an emotional already experience. It's an emotional experience regardless of money. So when we throw money in it and you're uncomfortable with how much you're already spending or whatever thoughts you have around money, if you are already uncomfortable in that, this will not be a stressless renovation. This will be a very stressful renovation for you, and it can be just around the fact about money. Now, there's ways that we can work through that, because you also want to make sure that when you're hiring your contractor, there are really clear expectations of what the budget is, what the draw schedules are going to be, and what expectations are to be paid from, what your contractor needs when they expect to have different payments, and how that's going to move forward. And like, what are you going to do with change orders, right? There's just, you want to have some things in place, and we 100% could talk about that all day long, because that is part of that pre-construction setup. But if you are not comfortable with your budget, if you feel already stressed out about even looking at those numbers, your renovation will no doubt be a scary thing for you throughout the whole thing, because you may be sitting there crunching all the numbers the whole entire time and nickel and diming at every moment through that renovation. And you don't need to be doing that, okay? So you have to know your budget. You have to know what you're looking at and what you're comfortable in spending. And I will scream that from the rooftops. That is a hill that I will lay down on. All right. I will lay down on that hill that says you need to have some idea of what your budget is. Now, what I was referring to earlier is if you have some kind of house emergency, right? A water line burst, or your water heater burst, and now you have water damage in your home, or something of the sorts of this, right? You might not know what that's going to cost, and you might not have any idea what that might cost, and that's okay. That is an appropriate time to talk to a contractor, maybe have a couple of people come in and get an idea of what that would cost, because this isn't a planned thing that's happening, and you just really might not know. The contractor probably won't know what they can give you a range, I'm sure, but without seeing what the damage is behind the walls and in between the floors, it's hard to really put in a solid number. But you can have an idea, and in that point, if it's something house related, you might be talking to your homeowner's insurance. They might be able to help you with some of that cost. Now, I have experience with working with the insurance companies and restoration side of things, and that can be tricky. So you just want to get with somebody that is really familiar with, you want a good representative to go back and forth for you with your homeowner's insurance, and you want to be able to fight for what you need, but also be familiar with what your coverage will allow. Not to digress completely, there's so many nuances when it comes to homes and renovations, and like what's a need versus what's a want versus, what's a restoration versus what's, a remodel and restoring a old piece of history, right? So why the budget is important, because you want to know it before you even have that conversation with your contractor. You also want to understand if you are even comfortable spending a certain amount of money. If you have a bathroom renovation or a kitchen bath, if you have a bathroom renovation, you're doing a kitchen renovation, those are some big dollar renovations. Okay. You're probably not getting out of that at like a $5,000 minimum, okay? Because we're talking demo, we're talking tile work most of the time. You're talking about stone finishes when you're talking about kitchens, cabinets. These are not low-cost items, and they're also high labor costs typically. So knowing what your budget is, and then also knowing what you're renovating, is going to be hand in hand. You want to know, is this a realistic budget for what I'm looking for? Because otherwise you're going to be wasting your time. You're going to be wasting the contractor's time that's coming out to bid your job. And having an idea ahead of time is going to be so important, because the first thing as I'm walking a job, I'm asking you what your budget is. I'm looking at a bathroom that needs to have the shower tile redone, but I'm talking to a homeowner that doesn't know at all what their home what their budget is. Or I have a homeowner that's asking for a remodel for under $5,000 in their bathroom. I mean, tile alone is a high labor cost. I can't get someone out there typically for under $4,000. And that's like prep work for your shower and tiling it. So like the waterproofing and the tiling. So for $4,000 minimum, like, and that's a standard shower. That's not even like a high-end shower, or, you know, that's with a niche. It's a basic tile design, easy, like straightforward job. So if that puts that into perspective for you, you know, that's where we are right now in this market. We have to be able to pay the people that are coming out to do these jobs. And then we also need to be able to put food on our tables. And you also want to have a really good quality renovation, right? So if you are looking to do a renovation and you're hiring a contractor, not a handyman, not a do-it-yourself project, you're going to at least be putting out $4,000 minimum for just the labor of the waterproofing and the tiling of your home. That's not, or your shower. That's not demo. That's not rough plumbing. That's not even framing. Well, no, that would be framing, but like any reframing that needs to happen if you are doing a bigger niche or if you're adding a bench. These are things that are going to be higher cost at a $4,000 minimum. Okay. So for some perspective for you. Also, if you come in and you tell me you don't know what your budget is and you ask me for a range, especially when it comes to bathrooms, you know, I'm going to tell you that this can be as little as, you know, $15,000 to $20,000 up to, you know, over $50,000, because it's also going to come down to the materials that you are choosing. Are you choosing a higher quality stone? Are you doing a bespoke type tile? Like, these are things that are going to up the cost that could really take your bathroom from, you know, a Lowe's box special to a super custom design. And let's not even forget that there's also design fees that come to that, to your bathroom designs, to your kitchen designs, right? So there is a lot involved when it comes to your home renovation. And if you don't have any clue of what you need ahead of time, you're going to be swimming in some murky waters. And if you approach a home contractor who you just say, this is what I want, they might give you a few selections, and they might be working with a designer, or they might refer you to a designer and then they can work together, but you're still paying out those fees. So how much work can you do in the forefront before you start contacting these contractors and designers to really get a good footing of what you want and what you need? So then that way you're not spending that money having those conversations later. All right. Because a pre-construction work, you're looking into 3,000 to 5,000, and that's just pre-construction. Okay. If you're adding a designer, you're, again, minimum $3,000 for like 3 concept designs. And anything after that, you're paying hourly and you're paying higher costs for it, because you are now spending time working with somebody that's taking their time to curate things just for you. Okay. So nuances when it comes to home renovations and designs. It's really not just as simple as, this is what I want. How can you make this happen? This is my budget. There's just a lot to go into it, and there's a lot to consider. And you have to get comfortable with your budget and your finances. And there's no pulling, you know, the cover over your head. You cannot stick your head in the sand. You have to be present for this. You have to be comfortable, or as comfortable as you're going to be able to be, which better be really comfortable, because you cannot ghost your contractor when it gets to the end, and you can't start nickel and diming them once you have that agreement. And I mean, you could, of course, right? Of course you can, you're capable of it, right? These are conversations I have with my kids all the time. Yes, I can run through the house. Yes, you can run through the house. You are capable, but should you? No. And the same goes for this. You should not be nickel and diming your contractor at the end of the job when you have an agreement. Now, this also means your contractor better have a good plan and a good, like, you both need that communication throughout the job. And so if you're at the end and you're nickel and diming each other back and forth, there's a lack of communication throughout your project. That's another conversation, because sometimes I've also heard, I've experienced, not heard, but I've experienced that contractors don't also want to give out budgets either. And then their trades aren't giving you a solid number. And that's when things get a little hairy. Like now your budget's not staying on track. And now the timeline's changing. It always comes to the pre-planning and the pre-construction and anything that you can do up front to make sure that your job is airtight when it comes to talking to your contractor will always work in your favor. And if your contractor is unwilling to have these conversations with you about budget, about schedule, about payments, then that's a red flag. And I think you need to start looking around. But I know that's not always a luxury. Right here in Charleston, we are a dime a dozen builders, right? Like you can open up you can go on the websites and see about 100 different contractors that you can call at any given moment. And I'll tell you what, they're all busy. They're all busy doing work, but you also want to be able to sift through and know who you are comfortable with working with. And if somebody cannot give you a budget, if they cannot give you more solid numbers, and I'm not saying we don't know what's behind the wall, so I can't give you a number conversation. I'm talking about somebody that should know their fixed numbers when it comes to painting and drywall and flooring. These are things that they should have better, firmer numbers for. They should be able to give you an idea of how much something's going to cost. And if you're telling them you have $30,000 to do a bathroom and they can't say, yeah, we can do that, and they're wishy-washy about it, that's a flag for me. I would put a pin in that and start having a deeper conversation with them and try to navigate that a little bit more. If they're even more warier about giving you a schedule and where you're, like how this is going to flow, that is another red flag. If your contractor is not able to give you these things, those are red flags for your budget, okay? It is not just a red flag for your communications. It is a red flag for your budget. It is a red flag for your schedule. It means that they're dropping the ball. And when balls are dropped, somebody is paying for it. And so these are things, again, that you want to pay attention to early on in these stages of getting ready to do your home renovation. And I'm aware that this is not something that everybody has even thought of. They don't even know that this is something to consider. And so that is why I'm here, okay? I want to help you get there before you get to these conversations or in a contract with a contractor to do your home renovation, and then your budget's blown, you're angry, they're angry, and now it's this messy project that is like never ending, and you don't even have at the end what you wanted, and you can no longer enjoy the home renovation that you were so excited about. That is not the outcome that you deserve. Everybody deserves to have a home that's peaceful and loving, and theirs. And the process does not, the process and the job to get there does not have to be a fight the whole way. So let's work together and get you guys into a home renovation with a solid, tight plan, okay? And you can do this. I'm going to be launching my Blueprint Collective here again. And this is going to be that airtight, ready to go, hand it to your contractor work that we're going to do. So it's a 6-week live course that I'm going to be doing, but it's not a course as in here, I'm going to leave you to your own devices and you're going to figure this out. This is an action plan packed course that's going to give you everything that you need to get moving and to hire the right people to get going in your home renovation. You were taking out a big chunk of that pre-construction, pre-design work that you'd be doing hand to hand with a contractor. So we're going to do some of that. And not only are you doing that for yourself, but you're also going to have a better understanding of what this project's going to look like. So now you're not just heads in the cloud, not having any idea. Now you know what to expect. So we are going to prepare you and your job through the 6-week course at the Blueprint Collective. And it's something that you're interested in. Make sure you click the link in the bio and set up for that waitlist, okay? I'm going to be launching that here soon for a second time. And these are going to be the founding members, my second round of founding members. And I'm really excited to share this with you because it's something that's just so important. And your budget and your schedule and your time, that's important. And we do not want to make your home renovation this stressful, messy thing. You don't need it. It's completely avoidable. So if you are interested in joining the Blueprint Collective so that your home renovation is ready to go when you approach your contractor and or designer, make sure you click the link below and sign up for the waitlist. So then that way you can be first to know when the doors open for the second time. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you for hanging out today. If you like what you heard, please make sure you hit subscribe, and I hope to see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.